I know this is a jam-packed day of a lot to take in, but we appreciate your energy, and hopefully there's some music will give us some more energy. So I'm super excited to welcome Graciela, who's going to lead us and facilitate our global ERG shout out today. Graciela has been with CEO and the ERG leadership work from the very beginning, and actually was responsible for hosting the first global ERG leadership summit at Mattel. So she was at Mattel she started at Mattel in 1984, and has been doing some tremendous work in this area and is now an executive coach. So I'll turn it over to Graciela to tell us a little bit more about herself, and then we'll open it up to everybody in the session, and get ready to share your global ERG work, and we'll recognize you. So the way this will work is just use the Zoom function buttons of raising your hand, and Graciela will lead us in the session.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. Among my favorite things that I led and that I did at Mattel was actually creating the first ERGs at Mattel. And so I could not be happier to be here and to do this shout out so that you guys can share what are you doing that is great within your own ERGs. Any big questions you might have, and also a little bit into the future. What do you see next? What do you think is going to be fundamental for ERGs in the near future? Like Jennifer said, please use the reaction, raising your hand, so that I may call you for you to share. Limited to no more than 2 minutes, please, because we want to give as many people a chance to share. And once I see some of those reactions, I'll be calling on you. So let's get started. Who is going to raise their hands first? Come on, don't be shy. Okay, Maria, tell us. Please unmute yourself when you're about to talk.
I just unmuted myself, thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to give a shout out to the really wonderful people in our Generations with Genius ERG, and a special one to Noah Pride. I had really reached out to them in the past year because I have a mentee that I found out was gay, and I wanted to be credible and I wanted to support him. And they really knocked it out of the park, helping me. I interviewed people. I was able to find out about LGBTQ issues. They were enormously helpful for me. I checked legislation. I joined LGBTQ organizations. And this really opened up a whole world for me, because I came into it, I thought, I want to be credible with this person, be supportive of this person. But at the same time, I think when you go to seek knowledge, you find out that what you think you know is very limited. And I had a mentor in the program, their inaugural LGBTQ mentoring program was fantastic. I felt really honored because I was the first straight person that was accepted into this. And I wanted to make sure that I did a good job by my mentee and by the Noah Pride organization to thank them for everything that they've done to help me learn. And I had the opportunity to work with my mentors, and I conducted presentations for a Straight Allies Toolkit all during the month of June. And because of that, and we were talking this morning about networking, I'm getting a lot of side requests to speak about things. I think because I'm straight, people think that that they say you might have a different perspective. Can we talk about that? And I just love to do this because I'm a communications major. I've been looking to really get my teeth into something. And this is how I started with my ERG, to be able to make my day really memorable for not just no employees, but for the tax-paying citizens. So that's all I have to say. I really want to thank them. both. Yes.
Well, thank them, but also a big applause for you for taking the lead and
Oh,
for
nice.
showing
Thank
your
you.
vulnerability, which sometimes
Thank
I
you.
know it's not easy to do, but good for you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. At first I
Okay.
was nervous. Yeah, at first
Yeah.
I was nervous about it because I didn't want to offend,
Of
offend
course.
anybody and
Of
learn.
course.
But I thought, to me, this is worth it. To make my mentee feel totally comfortable, it was worth it. To
Yeah.
get to know the wonderful people at Noah Pride, it was definitely worth it.
Wonderful.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That was great. Who's next? I want to hear from others. Come on, don't be shy. We're all pretty friendly here. Okay, Shawan.
Good morning. I'm Shauna Lewis, coming from the County of Los Angeles Child Support Services. As a local governmental organization, we are fortunate to have 7 employee resource groups. I happen to lead one of them, which is titled Mindfulness, focusing on mental health and wellness in the workplace. We are using ERGs to advance equity in our department. The County of Los Angeles has created a motion and it instructed all of our departments to find ways to drive equity countywide, because we are striving here in LA County to be a national model for equity. And so we're using our employee resource groups to find those areas of intersectionality, to foster a sense of belonging, and to educate about equity, inclusion, and DEI overall in the workplace. And we're committed to those different levels of growth that we heard earlier in our plenary session about the individual growth. You got to grow in before you can grow out. And then developing growth within our communities, developing growth, of course, within our organization, and developing growth countywide, looking at all of our policies, programs, and procedures, just to make sure that it's equitable as it relates to being anti-racist, as it relates to making sure that all employees, no matter how they present, that they all are welcome and that they belong. And so really, really proud of the work that we're doing as a local governmental organization. And again, LA County is striving to be a national model, and ERGs are the first pillar in our equity advancement program to get to that end goal. Thank you.
I applaud you for that. That's phenomenal. And to see a government also so engaged in this is phenomenal. And, I live in LA County. I'm a big fan. And yes, we should set the pace for the rest of the nation when it comes to that. So excellent. Thank you for sharing. Next, okay, Ali.
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm from New Orleans. I work for Entergy, which is our local power company. We spread over several states. We had a couple of small wins in the last year, and working for a very large company with a lot of, kind of conservative base, for the Pride ERG. Any traction is good. So we had some wonderful cooperative events with some other ERGs. Kind of focusing on being intersectional. We have a generational ERG. We had an event talking about LGBTQ parents and kids, and that was really helpful and well received. And we've had some parents and other family members kind of reach out to us for support on that, which is why we're here. And most of our members are allies. I think it is very difficult to be out in the southern states, and so that's a challenge. We also were able to work with HR and IT to improve some stuff. We have a lot of legacy systems, and so with your single sign-on, it doesn't actually sign on to everything. And then one of our big questions has been, if we have a transgender employee who wants to transition while they're working for us, how do we fix their name? across all of our systems.
Yes.
And you know, make it so that it doesn't revert back to their dead name when we do a system update, which is you know, so we had to figure, okay, are there procedural reasons we have to do it this way? Are there IT limitations? So we've been working on that, and we've made a little bit of progress.
That's phenomenal, Ali. And remember, yes, I am sure that the geography in which you live poses certain more challenges than others. However, little steps, but sustain, you know, make sure that your steps are sustainable. And I totally get it about preemptive work with IT, with legal, with HR, to make sure that if that ever happened, it is a smooth transition ahead of time. So planning for it is phenomenal, is the best thing you can do. Thank you for sharing that. Great. Okay, who's next? It's been great so far. I love the fact of the stories that have, you know, the stories that have been shared. I want to hear from others. Come on. And if by any chance you're shy about speaking in front of all of us, don't worry. You can also put it in the chat. But I do prefer to hear from your voices. But again, I want to be inclusive. So if somebody is a little more introverted or shy, please, chat works for me too. What I want you to share is, what are some of the big wins that you have achieved through the ERG or through all the ERGs working together? Also, another thing you can ask, what are some of your big questions, things that are in your mind that you would like to get answers for? Or the last thing is, what do you see for the ERGs in the future? What's next? So with that, I want to turn it over to Allison to tell us. Thank you, Allison.
Hi, good afternoon. I just want to share that I am a new founder, ERG founder. I just submitted an application to establish an ERG for Native Americans. I am an employee of the Office of Personnel Management. And so I've established BELONG. BELONG stands for Building Equitable Long-Standing Opportunities for Natives in Government. And so the hope is to serve as a resource within the OPM community by supporting diversity and inclusion goals and objectives. We've hit the ground running. I know our application has not yet been approved yet, but I'm really excited about a partnership that we have established with the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. They are well known within Indian country, and we will be serving in their resume room within the next couple of weeks at their annual conference. And we will be the host for the summer 2023 GRC, the Government Relations Council meeting. So some really exciting things. We're also preparing to plan some activities for Native American Heritage Month. So we are all really, really excited.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. Marianto, Haro, you would like to go next? We cannot hear you. Let me do this. I'm going to skip you and then come back to you, okay? Until we figure this out. How about you, Kat? What would you like to share with the team?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kat Sturmer. I'm from Xperi, and I'm a brand new leader of our Women in Tech ERG. So what we have been doing this year a lot is focused on mindfulness and mental health. And I think some of the things that were really powerful was we had actually special coach that taught us to be mindfulness, like in breathing sessions, and to reduce our stress. And I think that has been really helpful for many people, because as women, we often face, additional responsibilities also at home, families and such. And so this awareness of mental health, how important it is, that has been really powerful. We also did a lot of great collaboration across ERGs with our network for African American people. The Mahogany, for instance, had very good speakers. That was a very nice thing to work together with different ERGs and just to leverage our resources. That has been really good. As a new chair, my challenge is now to bring this network to a more global level. So far, it has been very much focused on, let's say, US. As you might hear, I have a European accent, so I'm actually originally from Germany. So my job is now to recruit people in the different areas around the world that want to become chapter leaders and then build their own chapters. So that's a challenge. Really
Thank you,
great.
Kat. I think the whole theme of mindfulness, and I know you and Shawana also mentioned that, is such an important aspect of work. Also, being well and taking care of yourself is critical. So be the role model for all the other ERGs and all the employees around that. Excellent work. With that, how about you, Hollis? What would you like to share with us? Did I lose you, Hollis?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was
okay.
yapping.
That's okay.
Did the customary, didn't unmute myself. So, but no, I really just had a question or two, but I will share a little bit background of myself and our company and our state currently. So I work for a biotech company currently in San Francisco area, so the Bay Area. We have our ERGs have been around for quite a while. We have 6 ERGs. We're getting ready to launch a new ERG sometime next year. It's for disability, our disability group. And so my role is, I used to be an ERG lead, national leader, but I actually, my 9-to-5 job now is I lead all of our ERGs enterprise-wide from I&D. So I transition into this role because I absolutely am passionate about seeing the improvements and enhancements of our ERGs. And so my question is, as I'm on the other side now, and I'm working on from an I&D perspective, and I'm helping lead, guide, and I help create the strategies for our ERGs enterprise-wide, which we have about 6,000 people involved with our ERGs at our company. So you all have a little bit more background as far as our company and as far as our ERG state. My question to you is, we're coming out, I have a couple questions. We're coming out with strategic action planning, and we're doing that. And my question is, in the past, our ERG leaders sometimes did not always, there was no accountability. So, you may ask for an action plan, but they may or may not do it because it's volunteer, because our ERG leaders do not get paid, an additional salary or anything. So I've read books, and a lot of times, organizations will incentivize that level of compliance, quote unquote, by offering more budgets for the particular ERGs or things of that nature. Where budget is not, we're in a very blessed situation where budget is not a concern at our company. So I'm looking for some more ideas on how to have that accountability. One, and then number two, I'm also creating a celebratory meeting to celebrate the work that many of you on this call do, but just within our organization. I would love to have ideas if any of your organizations have that kind of celebratory big dinner. I know one example that's often spoke about is AT&T, and I know they have that. So those were like the two things, but really the accountability piece when you're not looking to just incentivize from a budget standpoint.
Yes. A couple of thoughts for you, Hollis. When I was at Mattel, one of the things that I did with the ERG leaders was work with their managers in making one of their performance items for the year, the work that they did for the ERG. And what I would do was rate them on that goal. The boss rated them on all their goals related to their work. But when it came to their work as for the ERG, the manager and I worked together so that I could provide the input in the rating and saw that as part of their leadership development. The other thing is, how do you influence them to be more active? By maybe showing them some of the rewards that they can get, exposure, leadership development, etc. Well, at the end, we're going to ask the rest of the group if they have any other thoughts. And if you do for Hollis, please put it on the chat right now. But we'll get back to you, Hollis, okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Demiko, how about you? Would you like to share?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Happy to be a part of this group. My name is Demiko Jones, and I am one of the DE&I advisors for SoCal Gas in Los Angeles, California. And we are excited that our team launched. We have a total of 5 ERGs. We launched 3 last year, and we have 2 that finished this year. One for Black, Latino, API community, veterans, and for women. We're soon to be launching one by the end of this year, or early next year for LGBTQ employees, and then for employees with disabilities. So really excited. We have over 8,000 employees, and about 10% of them make up the total membership of all the ERGs together. But I have a question, hoping this from this fine group to get some insight on, and even if in the chat. The LGBTQ group is the next group. We've already identified the 2 executive sponsors that are going to be supporting that group. And so with our format, we have the executive sponsors, and then we have the executive sponsors sometimes identify the leaders, the 5 ERG leaders to help lead the group. So how do we select, or how can they select those leaders for this ERG without, I suppose, without outing them, so to speak? If we want to do this respectfully, we want to be mindful with the other groups. Like I said, the executive sponsors were able to identify folks from within their network. And so these 2 leaders may be able to find folks within their network, but if there is any struggle, I want to know what some of the other companies and employees have done in this group that has been successful in identifying those leaders.
Yeah. A thought, and I will ask the rest of the group to also put in the chat comments. However, one thing that my work, and you have to think about this, is LGBTQ plus allies. That way, you're inclusive. It's not just the LGBT community and their allies, the people that are there to support them also. So that's something that you might try, and I welcome everybody else to also share some thoughts that you might have for Demiko, please.
Well,
Okay.
hi, Demiko. Yeah, you mentioned something about fearing that those LGBTQ group members will be outed, so to speak. That's the idea of the employee resource group, to have them step proudly and be who they are, and not have to remain in any type of closet or behind any type of curtain. So, you can work with those individuals and see how they may feel about it. But I mean, by and large, the idea is to be inclusive, and that includes the LGBT community. So there should be no shame or trepidation about that.
You're so right. However, if you don't want to put anybody on the spot, right away. The comfort is going to evolve over time. And it all depends on the organization. So keep that in mind. But make sure that it's positioned as, yes, an LGBTQ or team ERG, however, also included are the allies for them. And that's important throughout the organization too. Iris, how about you?
All right, now that I figure out how to unmute my mic, there's great conversation here. I work for Intuit, and I am part of the planning committee for our Asia Pacific network. And some of the things that we've learned over time since I've joined is how do we handle burnout? And we have two co-chairs, and it's interesting in the breakout session talking about this as well, is, you know, the chairs don't have to take on everything. That's where that's why we have 600 plus members, and we have a planning committee, and people can jump in based on whatever I call it my daytime job, where, you know, based on your project and your time commitment, you can jump in for a couple of months, help with an activity, and then you can you know, then rotate out. Someone else can jump in. So you know, just because you're heavily involved in an ERG doesn't mean that you own all the activities. And we've also have done great in partnering with other ERGs here at Intuit, African Ancestry Network, Military Abilities, and again, just kind of learning to work with each other, share the responsibilities, and share the fun. Yeah. But one thing was just kind of really thinking about as we all got together here to talk about what ERG means. And for us, we have taken the opportunity to create that safe space with, you know, we come here, we support each other, we work at the same company, but you can't get around with what's happening in the world. A lot of microaggression, there are a lot of inequality. So we actually create safe space for people in our networks to come and share their fears, get advice on how to handle some of the things that, you know, comments are made, microaggression that they experience. We had our monthly, we call it boba break, where it's voluntary. You join during lunch break. It's kind of a different version of brown bag lunch, right? You come and it's a safe space. We had talked about, we had a session where everyone came in and shared their tradition as part of our Lunar Year boba break conversation, share their uniqueness, their traditions, and that was a lot of fun, that particular conversation. But we also had a different conversation where you know, people were share their concerns. They were afraid to take public transportation, get on the bus, you know, just because how they look, who they are, and it was great to see everyone, not just those of Asian heritage, but also our allies, jump in and offer ideas and offer support. And I think that's where our ERGs here have been invaluable, just having our allies stand with us.
One of the things that I also want to mention, and you might already be doing this, is maybe on a quarterly basis, bringing all the ERG leaders together to understand what each group is doing, to understand what are their priorities and how they can support each other. So use that also as a way to engage and to, a little competition is never bad. Friendly competition, in making sure that people are motivated by each other and they feel supported with all the from the leadership of all the other ERGs. Thank you for sharing Absolutely. That, Iris. How about you, David?
Yeah, thank you. So also from Intuit. And I was going to say one of the things that I want to give a shout out to is both the strength and the health of the culture among the ERGs add into it. I think we've got, we're kind of drifting in and out because of meeting responsibilities and work life happens. But I think there are about 18 of us in attendance just in this conference alone right now. And one of the things that I have found uniformly across the board is what a wonderful community our ERG leaders are in terms of sharing resources, sharing knowledge. Anything you want done is like, hey, how do I do this? And you'll get 6 replies.
Yes.
Here, copy my template. Let me sync you up with somebody who's done that before, who's in my network. Just a fantastic belief in that we really are all stronger together.
That's awesome.
As a whole. So, and I know you commented on get the leads together. We have Slack channels for all the leads that just have this constant churn of communication. I have a Slack channel for all the leads just local to the San Diego campus, which is where I am. I'm also part of the Site Engagement Council for back to the workplace and the hybrid work environment. So just wonderful, wonderful, healthy engagement and culture around it. For us, I head up in the San Diego site, the what we call our Abilities Network. It's for folks with disability. My background is genuine. I only hear about half of what you say. And it's interesting because I find my biggest challenges right now are to get better engagement across the board. We find we have a blessing that is a curse in that we're kind of overrun by allies, and it's really difficult to get folks to self-identify.
Yeah.
And I make the observation that the disability community is kind of where the Pride community was 20 to 30 years ago in terms of comfort and self-identification. Yeah. That I've had more people identify to me directly, personally, because of my background than I think the entire company is identified. And this is what I use at work. So my current goals are driving engagement. I'm running a series of challenges and on-site events right now that are abilities themed. Right now is the International Week of the Deaf. And so I have a challenge. It's really simple. Hey, live through a couple of your meetings using live transcription. Turn off the speakers. You can use your microphone if you want, that's fine. But just live with it and see how many misunderstandings you have and how much value you got out of your meetings, and recognize you've got coworkers and customers who live that way. We're going to be doing some stuff on color blindness. We're going to be doing on-site training for mental health first aid here coming up in November. So just trying to get re-engagement. That's working quite well. I've got like 18 people participating in this week's challenge, and given that in the preceding year, I think we had all of 2 Slack posts. We're doing pretty good to see that kind of an increase in engagement. And a lot of it's just getting the word out there. I'm part of, to drive this, I've become part of our onboarding for new hires on the San Diego campus. We do a once monthly meet and greet. I make sure I'm there and along with a couple of the other ERG leads. And what I have found is probably key to getting the improvement in engagement for just me in our folks is the value of having lived experience.
Yeah.
I know allies are fantastic. We can't do this without them. But from my experience, there comes a point where you really do need someone who ideally is, if not an executive, is a people manager, higher up the food chain, been there a long time. I don't care what it is, but they've been there long enough, they carry some weight to be willing to speak from lived experience.
Got it.
And that direct relationship and ownership of both the problem and the solution is vital.
David, I have a question. Yeah. What can we do better so that you may hear us better?
Just in general?
Yeah. Are there any tips that we can use to make sure that this is not a tremendous, over the top effort for you? What can we do?
Well, so I find for me, it's always easier to understand somebody I know, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
But I know the speech habits and verbal habits of people who are routinely in my life, so I can predict what they're about to say. And I do a lot of that. Hopefully I get it right and I don't misunderstand.
Hey.
But so I'm not shy about it. I ask clarifying questions all the time. But I find that the most important thing is enunciation. Clarity of speech. Typically it's not volume. I've got hearing aids to do with that. But it's the clarity of speech, because what I get in my head sounds like a bad robot voice from a 1970s television show. Think Robbie the Robot, you know?
Yes.
That's what y'all sound like. One person at a time is easier.
Yes.
And lack of background noise.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm comfortable with it, but I have the benefit of having rapid loss. I had what's called rapid loss a couple of years ago, and I lost all this hearing over a 6-week period. So I don't have this lifelong stigma attached to it. I just view this as a righteous pain in my you-know-what. And
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
David.
Thank you.
On readings, anyone else has the raise? Iris, you still have your hand up. You want to say something else?
No, sorry, I should have turned that off.
Okay, that's okay. Stephanie, I get it. Just be mindful. Also, the fact that yes, sometimes we take things for granted. Sometimes we oversee something in the challenges of preparing a conference. But it's a good reminder that you brought up so that in the future, we can definitely be more aware of the needs of individuals. So thank you for yes.
Graciela, I put this in the chat, but I'll just say it out. They actually did reach out to me because I put it in as an accommodation that I would need. And so the folks who put this together did reach out to me about 10 days ago to confirm what would work for me, which is why which is why live transcription is enabled in your profile. So I can turn it on mine. And I have a running transcript that runs on the right-hand side. So when I miss words, I can read up and see it.
I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that, David.
Yep.
What else? I'm trying to read the messages on the chat. Any? Yes. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, I just hopped. This is Teresa. It's so great to see you.
Oh, hi, Teresa.
I don't know if everybody knows, but Graciela is the person who helped start the very first ERG Summit 2012. She was with Mattel and hosted it. She believed in us and kicked it off. So it's just wonderful to see you. But we only have about 4 minutes left. So Graciela, do you want to just summarize and make some points for the team and bring it together?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you all for sharing. Here's some of the great things that I heard or questions. It's all about collaboration. It's all about also making sure that people are recognized. The people also see they're making a difference for the culture of the company, for the organization, for their teams throughout their leadership roles as a part of an ERG. Don't assume that it's just a little volunteer work that you do on the side. People notice ERG leaders. And I remember at Mattel how some of the ERG leaders, through the exposure and the leadership they show, got a lot more recognition in terms of promotions and people identifying their leadership skills through the process of an ERG. Sometimes we want to hit the ground running, and I think Allison in particular mentioned that she's doing that with the ERG for Native Americans in her company. However, be kind to yourselves. Don't think that you have to always hit the mark. It's a learning process. I'm glad for those of you who are doing it, but again, don't put too much additional pressure on yourselves. Love the fact that two of you mentioned the whole effect of mindfulness and how important, how you're leading with that. Continue to do that and make sure with all the challenges we have faced over the last 2 years and a half, it's important to bring that element of empathy, that element of self-care in the messages that we deliver across the organization. Strategic action, planning, more accountability. Think about your culture of the organization. What is it that you could do differently from an accountability perspective, a strategic action planning perspective? Bring the teams together, bring all the ERG leaders together to talk about the calendar of events, to talk about how they can support each other. I think that will be a very useful thing to do, you know, and support each other. What David brought up about accommodations and making sure that people are being heard or seen, or it's important from an inclusionary perspective. Never assume that it's your experience what others are experiencing. Take into account the viewpoint of others, or at least empathize what else could be going on through their mind. Driving engagement and encouraging participation, all of that are critical. And never forget also, what is the value that you're bringing to your organization? It could be you're helping the culture evolve. It could mean you're making it a much friendlier place. It might mean that you, and through your ERG, are bringing awareness to those who are underprivileged by any means. But also, what is the difference that you can make for your organization when it comes to business results? Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this, Teresa and Jennifer. I'm delighted, and I wish you all a very successful summit. Go network, go connect, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Graciela.